All right. How's everybody doing? Where did everybody go?
I think the meeting was, it said ended by host.
Oh, whoops. Hopefully everybody will log back on now. All right, we'll give some people some time to jump back on.
Hey, Joseph.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Oh, man, it's so good to see you.
All right, look at there.
Wow, look at these people. This is great. Hey, Andrew. How's it going, man?
How's it going, man? Good to talk. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Righty. I think they're logging on in the training room too.
Nice.
Let me go see if they figured it out.
Wonder how I can I put this on the Facebooks? How do I make this on the Facebooks? Facebook. Hold on. Let's see what it does.
On the Facebooks.
Nervous on how this is going to turn out. Let's see.
All right, we're on in the training room too.
All right, I'm gonna hold on. We'll get it to the Facebooks, and we'll be good. Maybe, maybe not. AW Charleston, West Ashley, going live. Look at there, Vince. It's a big deal these days.
And you are just tech savvy, man.
I am. Y'all be careful. It's not working, but hey, when it does, it will be fantastic. All right, so Vince.
Joseph.
MREA series. We are talking about lead generation this week. And what we decided to do was pivot a little bit. And when we specifically talk about the lead generation model, a big thing in that we do is we talk about communication, right? You're communicating with your database. And if you're anything like me, you tend to run out of things to say, right? So what we wanted to do was share some good news, right? Well, you don't run out of things to say.
Don't either.
Share some good news and then talk about what scripts you can use to share that with your database and buyers and sellers, right? So now I know some of you are also tuned in for the MREA competition, which I guess no one lead generated this week because no one submitted their hours. So I guess that means free lunch for you and me, Vince.
Oh yeah.
We'll have to just take ourselves to lunch. Now next week, and we're going to send out information this afternoon. Next week, the competition is going to be focused on contacts, right? So we're going to want you to track your contacts. That's number of two-way conversations that you have with your database, with leads, whatever it may be, but about real estate. And then we're going to send out another form on Friday morning. We'll announce the winner at the MREA Friday afternoon, and then we'll have a follow-up contest the following week. So let's jump into the information. So one of the things we're going to talk about is the language of real estate. Vince, tell us what the language of real estate is.
That is the language of real estate. It's all about what is the language of real estate? It's the lore. Some people have heard us say the lore, the language of real estate, but the language of real estate is dollars and cents, and more specifically numbers, right? Top business owners speak in numbers. They understand the numbers of their business. They can articulate the numbers of their business to their clients, and they can help use facts and data to support why somebody should do business with them. Right.
Exactly. So like I said in the video, if anybody watched it earlier, the stats are good, but if you don't know how to talk about stats as it relates to your business or how it benefits people, it's not going to help you at all. So what we want to do is take the next 20, 30 minutes, talk about this, and then we're going to wrap up. We're going to do the accountability side a little bit differently today, in that we are still going to have an accountability session, but we're also going to set specific goals on what we can do with the information we learned today, and what is an action item we could take to go out and actually reach out, communicate, and build our business using that information. So I'm going to.
Can I make a real quick point?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we think about the lead generation model, the lead generation model more specifically tells us how many people should we be talking to, or how many people do we need on our database, right? And following up with frequency and intensity, so that we can hit our unit goal as we figured out based on the economic model. So if I want to make $100,000, right, net, then I've already broken down my economic model and understand that I have to sell, let's call it 18 homes.
Right.
The lead generation model is going to specifically tell us how many people do we need on our database that we've met with, so that we can sell 18 homes. And an easy way to do this, right, is multiply that number by 10, right? So if I want 18 homes, I need 180 people in my database, and I need to follow up with those 180 people. Here's the key, right? With a 36 touch program, which means I have to touch base with them twice a month via email, call them quarterly, and then touch them, I guess, what is that? 6 more times. Right. About.
Yeah, roughly. Mm-hmm.
And you can get this system right from your smart plans in Command. But the reason that we do these things, rather, let me go back to that 180. So if you have 100 people in your database and your goal is to sell 18 homes, and you identify that you need 180, now your entire lead generation system should be around one goal, and that's to put 80 people in your database. Because if I need 180 in my database, I have 100, I've identified a gap of 80 people. So I need to go and find 80 people, right? And the way that we're going to do that is through three things. It's called consumer experience. Consumer experience consists of three things. You heard this in Family Reunion: unique insights, unique access, and unique service. This is really important, and we're going to get into unique insights right now. But I wanted to set the stage there, because if we're not cultivating a relationship, let me ask a question. What is the reason that we're talking to people every day about buying, selling, or investing in real estate? What's the reason that we're doing it?
What's the reason that we're doing it?
Yeah, why do we talk to people about buying? This is not a trick question. Why do we do it?
Building relationships.
Yeah, well, more specifically, to do what? We build a relationship. Why? Because we want to sell a house. We're all in business to make money.
Right.
Like this isn't a trick, and it's okay to say we are in business and we're talking to people every day so that we can sell a house. However, we cannot sell a house, and we will not have the opportunity to sell a house if we don't do what Camille just said, and that's cultivate and build a relationship.
Right.
It's super, super important. And through unique insights is one of the ways that we can build a relationship. And Joseph's going to now throw up a couple of statistics that we can use to do that.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
No, I like it. That was a good segue into it, because the other thing is that the way I look at it when you say that is, you want to build validity, right?
Yes.
In Shift, they talk about, the first part of the Shift tactics is get real, get right. Right. And then it talks more later on when it talks about the find the motivated part of it, right, which is the lead generation side. And what you want to do is become the economist of choice. So when you can deliver the information and explain the information, you become the person that they're going to trust with the information. Okay. Yep. So now you also want to run the risk, and this is why it's really good, in my opinion, that you're getting this information from people like me and Vince, because we're going to talk about it in a way where if we can explain it, it means that even the most simple people can understand it. Because if we can, they definitely can. And there's importance in that, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to assault them with stats and then not know what the heck that even means, right? You know, so that's what we're going to try to turn that conversation into today. So what you're seeing right now on the screen, give me a thumbs up if you're seeing closed units April. Okay, cool. So this is a comment. This is basically all of the Keller Williams, West Ashley, and Keller Williams key statistics. Okay, and this is in the month of April. Our closed units were up 222% from last year. Okay. Now, what we want to do is that information doesn't mean anything if the market's the same thing, right? I mean, it's like if the market were up 222%, it just means we rose with the tide, right? But the market was up only 47%. So that means we outperformed the market. Our increase was 366% of that, of what the MLS's increase was. That's something to celebrate.
More than that, yeah.
That's something to celebrate. But what we also want to do is we want to take into consideration is let's make sure that's not just a fluke month, right? And let's look at year to date, right? So that's what this one is. The year to date increase, it's 145% for the market center. And it was only 32% for the market. So we've outperformed the market by 352%. So before we get into the dialogue on this, I want to show you one more thing. Because one of the things that we talk about, Vince, a lot is, well, what does that mean for the actual agents, right? Because we're in our market center that did a lot of growing last year. We have a lot of new faces. We have a lot of high producers that have come in. So does that really give us an indication of what the actual agents are doing, right? Because you could sell 10 homes last year in the office and then bring on a 100-home producer that sells 110 homes this year, and you've grown, but that doesn't mean the people selling the original 10 have grown.
Yep.
So we want to make sure we look at that number. And one of the things that we're looking at really closely this month is we've broken it down. You can see the agent names over here on the left-hand side. I'm going to leave it at this because all of these people, this is a raw data sheet, so don't get too bogged down in the numbers. So what we did is individually our agents, and I'm looking mainly on this column here, but individually our agents basically on average outperformed or had an increase of 60% in the units they closed year to date this year versus the ones they did last year. That's pretty impressive, right? That's something to be super proud of from the agent standpoint. And look, I mean, some of these people are seeing huge increases. Now, again, you've got some people that are new, that's going to increase the number. I totally get that, right? But they're not going and creating new transactions. The transactions are there regardless. Right. So it's important that we know that. So I just want to show you that on these, and then we've got some changes over here. We're still working on the raw data for the actual volume. But so Vince, let's talk about why this number is important. So how does this, that's great, but why would I share this with the public as an agent?
Because here's the thing, we want to make sure, first off, things that are growing are healthy. If it's not growing, it's not healthy. It's
Right.
as simple as that. And if I was a consumer, we have to always put ourselves into the consumer's shoes, into the client's shoes. Does a client want to work with a winner or a loser?
That's a good way to put it.
A winner.
I don't mean to be so blunt, but this is
Right.
this is the easiest way to be.
Right.
Well, also, I don't know how to be any other way. So
Right.
when we think about it, we
Yeah.
as humans, we want to work with winners. We want to be on a winning team, right?
Mhm.
Right.
We want to be on a winning team. And when we talk about not from a humble standpoint, right?
Mhm.
When we talk about from a humble standpoint that we have helped 144 more individuals, that we have grown by 144% or whatever the number is, you took them away, I can't see,
Right.
more than the typical office. That means we have helped more people. We are a winning team, so to speak. And can you throw those numbers back up so that
Yeah. Which one do you want? Do you want the
I want to talk about units, just units. I don't want to talk
Okay.
about volume.
Yep.
And I'll mention why.
Okay.
So from a units perspective, and I mentioned, I don't want to talk about volume. Volume is very market driven.
Right.
Naturally, I think the average sales price is up, what, 16% year over year?
I'll look that up while you're doing this, but yes.
Yeah.
Similar to that.
It's up a lot. It might even be up closer now to 30 because remember, some of these growth numbers from a market perspective include now March of 2020. What was March of 2020? It was the beginning of COVID when everything legitimately shut down. So some of these, we have to appreciate where these numbers are coming from. But right here, when we look at 145.1% increase year over year, our agent base from a sales standpoint, right? That means we've sold 145% more units year to date than we did last year. Most people don't understand percentages. Like Joseph mentioned earlier, if we're not smart enough to understand percentages. So when I look at that, I say for every 10 homes that we sold last year, we sold 14.5 more. Just move the decimal over. For every 10 homes we sold last year, we sold 14 more. So for every 10, so last year, or this year rather, for some reason the consumer, 14 new consumers compared to the previous year, chose a Keller Williams agent to sell their home instead of another agent.
Right.
So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, who would you rather sell your home? The individual that's helped 14 new people sell their home compared to what we did last year, or the individual that's only helped 3 more people? It's direct. It is. Yeah. I get it. And some people are uncomfortable with that directness. But the beauty of this is it's based in stat and it's real and nobody can argue it.
Yep. Yep.
And with volume, it's the same thing. Sure, we're up, but the volume number, I don't pay as much attention to the volume number. I pay much more attention to the unit number, because the unit number is controlled by us. We can control the unit number. We can't control as much the sales price.
Yeah, and that's a good point to make. I mean, this is why when we do like the contest the first part of the contest was all about hours you lead generate, right? So, I mean, you have 100% control over the hours you lead generate. Contacts, you have 100% control of the number of contacts that you make, right? Now, when you get to appointment set, you have a lot of control, not quite as much, right? Because you've got to change some things to get it better. Same thing with your business, right? This is why we can't say, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to set. So for the regional team meeting, we had a net income goal of 200,000, right? So that's 60 closings had to happen. That didn't mean that we went out and we made sure that we had, a fraction of GCI closed each month. No, you had 1 unit or 2 units or however many units closed each month. So it's the same thing, right? And this is a good indication too, when you look at numbers. So let's go to the year to date for the volume. I mean, it's a 62% increase on volume over a 32% increase that we saw earlier on units, right? More homes didn't sell to create that volume that was higher alone, right? I mean, if you look at the volume increase, it outpaced the unit increase by twice, right? It's twice as much. Right, so you look at this one, 204% outperforming the market, right? So this one, like I said, we're not going to do too much in volume because it's the units, because those are people that actually decided to do business with us. This is the one that I think right now, this statistic is one that you should absolutely be celebrating and using to your advantage. And this is contracts accepted. We changed the verbiage of it. Thanks to Stephanie Clark. She made a really good point. We use the term contracts written, but when we say contracts written, it literally means written and accepted, right? And this is amazing because, 66% increase in the market, but we did 143% increase. So we had the same increase in the month. Well, let's look specifically at this year to date. I mean, this is amazing. This is really good. And what I like about year to date, again, this time of year, you had a lot fewer contracts written in March of April last year. So the increase year over year would be elevated. But if you look at this and you go back to Vince's analogy here, who has experienced multiple offer situation? Anybody in the last 30 days, right? Every listing that went on the market pretty much is experiencing multiple offers right now. So this is something that, Vince, I'm sharing with the world, because I could say, look, you have 177% higher chance of getting a contract accepted with me than you would with with the average agent in the market. Like, who you're in business with really matters right now. Because we went out, and again, this is based on this isn't like based on the increase in agents that we have. It's increased in the contracts that were accepted. So it's a big deal.
Can I, I'm going to make 2 points here. sometimes a newer agent in the business that might not have any sales under their belt yet say, well, how does this apply to me? Well, you're a part of Keller Williams family, aren't you?
Right.
You have access to the infrastructure and resources that can help your clients at this level compared to the level that the market is helping clients, right? So this is all things that you can have in your back pocket. Yeah, our brokerage so far this year, our brokerage has helped 177% more individuals get their contracts accepted than the other brokerages in the market. That's crazy.
That's a lot.
That's
a lot.
crazy.
It's almost twice. Yeah.
And when you made a comment, can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah. Wait, stop sharing.
Oh, and then can you give me capabilities?
Yes. Okay.
Perfect. So I'm gonna share this document here. Can everybody see this? It's a chart. So I want to direct our attention to this here, over here. See this 269 right here on the far right, 269. This is the amount of contracts written in the first week of COVID in 2020, 269. That same week in 2020, we wrote 434. I want to make a quick point. Sure, there's some things that are skewed from the standpoint of last year in 2020. And this, by the way, this is from Doug Holmes. You should, if you want statistics, sign up for $10 a month with Doug Holmes, and he will send you this information. But 269 contracts last year, 434 this, and this is just in those weeks, right? What's really cool is, again, sure, there was a decrease during COVID, and sure, the numbers, obviously, from a growth rate standpoint for the month of March are going to be pretty dramatic this year compared to last year. But here's the key. How many months was it below what it was? How many weeks, I'm sorry, was it below what it did the previous year in 2019? 4 weeks. 269, 294, 299, 354. What happened almost every week? Actually, not almost. What happened every week once COVID started? It pulled back real hard. Yep, it pulled back real hard, Camille, and then it went up each week as people figured out their behind from their elbow and what was going on. Right? So this is important to notice. We're looking for trends in the market. We're looking for trends in our business. Trends tell stories. Nobody can argue with numbers. So right here at this 413 started to come back into the fours. And then what happened the following week? It didn't look back.
Mhm.
It grew each week dramatically more than the previous. That's really a big deal. So that's where we are right now. So sure, we put up some crazy growth numbers week over week from 2020 to 2021 for a month, but it's only 3 or 4 weeks that we have to be cognizant that there was a slowdown. And then we got to understand, then the market took off like crazy. So this last week we wrote 428 contracts. What's interesting is that was actually down than what we did.
Yeah, I was just
right after
Why do you
COVID.
think that is? What do you think
There's
that
no
means?
inventory.
I think it's twofold, right? Camille, that's totally true. Inventory, what else? That 489 is probably a backlog of the 200 or 300 individuals each week that weren't buying, because what we know, what statistics is telling us, is that 48% of buyers or 48% of households have said they are either seriously or moderately interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate. This was from Family Reunion. 26% of those were moderately interested. 26 of that 46, right? So if that's the case, when we asked what was moderate, what's slowing them down, they said they were waiting for the end of COVID. They were serious before COVID started. But now when COVID started, they became skeptical. some of those I bet turned into serious buyers once they saw what was going on, and you can see those in that contract number right here. Does that make sense, Joseph?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because I was looking at that, and if you look at that jump, just the history in the prior years, that it actually normally goes down this week from the week prior on a couple times in previous years. But yeah, if you look at that jump from 413 to 489, yeah, I mean, it was a backlog. Yeah.
And this market, like if inventory was higher, we'd probably be writing more than 500 contracts a week. We had 1 week, this week right here, the first, I don't know, I believe that was like right around the first week of March. 503, right? There's been a lot of, and right around here, between this 437 and 503, that's when we saw inventory really go from like 2,500 to below 2,000. That's when we saw that shift where there were more contracts written than anything available, right? That right around here is when we saw that happen. And that's probably one of the reasons that we can't write that many contracts. We burned through those. My coach gave me a great example. This is kind of weird, but just bear with me. At the beginning of COVID, back right around here, right? Before that, did you use Walmart brand toilet paper? Probably not, right? No offense, like no problem if you did, but you might not have. That might not have been your preferred choice. Your preferred choice might have been Charmin or whatever. However, how hard was it to find toilet paper in the second week of March? Was it hard?
Yes,
And would you just buy whatever was on the shelf?
absolutely.
Yeah, that's what's going on now with inventory from a housing perspective. 6 months ago, you had the opportunity to buy a premium product. You could select what you wanted to buy. You didn't have to even worry about those that were overpriced or those with goofy floor plans or those with polka dotted bathroom. But now, if you have to move, you're looking at that product and you're saying, I can just paint that polka dotted bathroom. It'll be fine. I'll spend the extra $1,000. I need to move. I'll just deal with the fact that the yard is smaller and not my preferred. I'll buy the Walmart toilet paper, instead of my preferred choice, which was Scott, whatever. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's something to think about. All this plays into the lead gen model, because we're talking about statistics based on what we can share with our consumer, with our client.
Yeah.
And
I think
how to get people in our database.
Yeah. And I think why it's important to kind of know these numbers on a level of, and this is something that Lynn and I have been talking a lot about, and I know she's been talking about in these classes as well as the Monday CDP stuff, is people are tired of hearing that the market's crazy. Everybody knows the market's crazy, right?
Stop saying we have low inventory.
Yeah, the market's crazy. We get it. Let's talk about what we can do in the market, though. Let's talk about what we can do in the market. And so I want to go through 3 more quick stats, and then let's have a conversation about how we can use this information so you guys can leave here with some action on them. I always go to Market Monitor just because I love it. It's so super easy to use in the MLS. This is why the market feels crazy right now, right? This is homes that are for sale, currently active homes. This is as far back as we can go, which is to 2004. This is the least amount of homes that have ever been on the market active in Charleston for as long as the data has been. I mean, that's why we're like, there aren't any homes available, right? Here's what's an interesting one, though, and this is why we have to change the way we talk about things. I can see it in Vince's face when I even just said that. Is people are like, there are no homes available, and we're creating this story. This is the number of new listings taken in the same period of time. Is this the lowest number of new listings that have ever been taken in Charleston?
No.
2012. Tell me about 2012. What was business like then? Slower, but it was pretty good.
Well, it had a lot of short sales and a different type of market.
Yeah, it was
money changed hands in a different space. Yes,
yeah,
fine to say.
Right, but we were able to sell real estate, right? We were able to build businesses. Now the problem is The reason that showing up, this graph looks this way is because this new listing graph looks like this, while this closed graph looks like this. And the problem is back before, when we were at this new listing of very, very low, our closed sales were still pretty low. Now the problem is our new listings are high, but our closed sales are higher.
High, yeah.
Right?
Because we burned 3,000 homes, right?
Right.
We literally burned, from an inventory standpoint, homes that were on the market for 4 or 5 months that weren't selling started to sell because demand
Correct.
was that high, or is that high.
Yeah.
So we burned through those, but we're still putting plenty of homes. We're still putting a lot of homes on the market, more than we ever had before.
Right. Here's the other thing, and here's the last stat. Again, whoops, let's throw that right there for a second. The last stat that I want to throw in there is 6,000 homes, rolling 3 months, 6,000 homes sold, right? We have roughly,
1,200, 1,252.
let's do over the 1 year really quickly, because this will make sense here in a second. So 1 year closed sales. All right, so that's 23,000 closings, right? Rolling 12 months.
Sorry.
That's a lot, by the way, right? That's how many sides do you have available for you? Not everybody at once.
10.
Double that.
Oh,
It's just double that number. For every closing, there are 2 sides to the deal,
26.
right? Right? There are 2 sides to every deal.
Yeah.
Right? So that's 47,000 closings or opportunities divided by 7,400 agents. That's 6.4 per agent that's available right now. Okay. I can tell you that this time last year, actually, let's go 2 years ago. So we get an accurate number, which would have been April of 19. 17,000 sides times 2, 34,000 opportunities. At the time in April 2 years ago, we were still, we've grown, but not by much. Let's just say it was 6,500. That's 5.2 closings per agent, or sides per agent. So this is what's, and the reason I point this out is there's almost 1 full side, actually 1.5 full sides more per agent available now than there was in April in 2019. And I got to tell you, 2019 was a good year for a lot of people, right? It just feels harder now and there's a lot more work, but it's out there. It is 100% out there. And that's the purpose of that, right? So what do we do with this information, Vince? Let's do some masterminding on how do we take what we just talked about. If you and I are going back out to generate some leads for our business right now, what are we going to do? What are some things that we can do?
Well, I'm all number one is I'm going to understand that, hey, I'm gonna number one, I'm going to stop telling people that there's no inventory.
Right.
There is, because what am I doing when I say that there's no inventory?
Telling people
No houses available for them.
I'm telling people don't buy or sell.
right.
I'm literally telling them, I'm creating buyer hesitation and buyer reluctance. Because if you don't, and here's the other thing, number 2, if you don't have an answer to this simple question, you're in trouble. Well, where am I going to go? We need to get to the objection. So the best salespeople in the world understand that we need to get to the first objection as fast as we can, because the sale doesn't happen until after the objection.
Mm-hmm.
With all due respect, right? So, but here's the key. How many objections am I going to get, Joseph, in real estate? Really, just in anything, but in business, how many am I going to get? Am I ever going to get like one that's so crazy out there? Like most of the time it's going to be what? Where am I going to go now in this market? Where am I going to go? What else?
What's it going to cost?
I don't want to pay. What was it?
What's it going to cost? Or
what's it going to cost? Yeah. I don't want to pay you. What's the value? What else? I'm working with a family friend.
Yeah. Working with a friend. That's
like, other than that,
there are
we're really having trouble coming up with many more.
Right.
So find an authentic voice to those questions. Now, value, right? The value conversation, based on our conversation that we just had about numbers, hey, Mr. Buyer and Seller, right? Our brokerage sold, the reason that you're going to pay me 6% to sell your house, even in this market, is because we've sold, I need those numbers back up, but we've gotten 117% more listings accepted, or more contracts accepted than any other brokerage on the street. That's why you're going to pay me 6%. Where are you at? To the right. There. What are you doing?
It's covered up by the screen share toolbar.
Quick.
I'm trying. It's not. Oh, hold on.
There it is. Contracts accepted. We're a technology company. Just bear with me.
I'm hovering over it trying to click, and anyway.
So 177%, right? Well, why would I pay you 6%, Joseph? Because with all due respect, we're going to get your contracts accepted.
Yeah.
We've gotten 177% more contracts accepted than the rest of the MLS. What does that mean? That for every 10 contracts that we got accepted last year, we're getting 17 more accepted this year. So don't you want to be a part of it?
All right. Here's something you just said, and we're getting a little off topic, but I think it's a good discussion because, again, you have to know the script. The other great salesperson will address the objections before they even come, right? So to this, you got to know what's important to the people.
Yep.
You know, so if I'm sitting down with a seller, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what's important to you? What do you think they're going to say right now? We're going to talk about the drama they're hearing in the market. I want this to be a smooth transaction, right? I think this is good. This sounds miserable to me. Like, I'm hearing out there that this is a miserable process because all I'm hearing is multiple offers and all this. I want to make sure it's a smooth transaction, which, by the way, was the same objection that they had, or same needs analysis they had 3 years ago, right? Yeah. Price, convenience, timing. And convenience is also is really timing. And the one that's always brought up is communication. So right now, I'm going to make sure when I do that needs analysis and I know they're concerned about the market, I'm going to get this ahead of time. I'm not going to throw this fancy thing in their face and say, Vince, look at me. I'm going to say, Vince, here's what I know is of a concern to you and how crazy this market is. And one of the things I want to show you is that our agents, and this is important because of this concern for you, they're 177% more likely to get a contract accepted in this market than the general public and the agent. And the good news about you is you don't have to worry about contracts falling through or having multiple offers or these sorts of things where you're stressed. Like, we are going to get an accepted contract that's acceptable to you. It's more important to have this conversation with the buyers right now because they're shopping buyers agents.
You could use that. Great. You could use that for a buyer, right? 100%. Imagine that. Are 177% more likely to get a contract accepted than working with the general agent population, right? If you work with a KW agent, right? You are a KW agent. That's part of your value proposition. Right. The other part is you could go to, people are only really interested in two things. It's either like, what's most important, time or money? Mm-hmm. So is convenience and when your house is sold most important, or is it most important to get the most bang for your buck? Then they're going to say something like, well, both. Well, great. Which one? Like, through questions, identify which one's more important to them, and then use the statistics to back up why they should work with you, right? Yeah. So if it's price, then go to the fact that volume is up, right? That the volume for a Keller Williams agent is up 233% more than the market. Mm-hmm. If it's about time, then use the fact that contracts accepted is up more than 177% than the market, right? So identify what their gap is and then use the statistics to validate what your words, what the words that are coming out of your mouth are saying. Yeah. Right. Like, validate yourself, validate the process.
And a lot of times it's simply knowing the number that creates the validity that closes the deal. right? If I'm talking to Vince and Vince is like, look, I've got a really good friend of mine who's an agent, or I know this person, I'm going to give them a shot. I'm like, okay, I appreciate that you want to shop around, right? And that's fine. Let me ask you, have you spoken to them about what their statistically, what the probability is of their contracts being accepted, particularly in this market? The agent's not going to have a clue what that even means, right? And that's important. I mean, that's why, again, as a fiduciary responsibility as a buyer's agent right now, it's important that you share that. So, all right, questions so far about this? Anybody? We've been chatting a lot. So from you guys that are in here, what questions, what can we go over? And then we're going to set some goals for the week. Guess that means we did a great job. We just covered it all.
Yeah, of course we did.
All right. So
can I make another point?
Huh?
So from a validity standpoint, you talked about numbers. I'm going to share something. It's a secret. I know a lot of people have probably talked to me and I'll say, well, go to page 138 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. What do you find on page 138? Well, all the ways that you can lead generate. Like you get to pick what way you want to lead generate. Or go to page 102. That'll tell you why, right? There it is. Go to page 102. That'll tell you why you should focus on listings. Or do you want to understand why you should focus on quantity over quality? We'll go to page 88. Why do you think I do that? What's the reason? It's validity.
Makes you look
If
smart.
you knew exactly, it makes me look like I know what I'm talking about. And if I know, which I'll share this, most of the time I don't. That's the beautiful thing. And then you can do this. You can also do this. If you know the numbers of your business better than anybody else, you automatically show value to your client. You're showing validity. You're showing credibility. This is why you should work with me, because I'm a business owner and I run my business like a business so that I can bring you the most value and help you get what you want when you want it. That's why. It's validity.
All right. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes, 3 minutes, everybody, to jot down what are 3 action items that you could take using this information between now and next Friday. Just jot that down. And action items specifically as it relates to communicating with people. Tell them to stop having so much fun out there, Vince.
I was about to go out there and go find them. Sounds fun.
All right, a couple more seconds. Just jot. You got it all done. Great. Just a couple more minutes. Get some people wrapping up here. I like the people I can see their videos because they're still writing. That's good. Thank you.
We probably should have said this, but make the action items, make them SMART. That stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Relevant and time bound.
Good. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I want you to share with us what you wrote down. So I'm just going to go around, so there'll be an equal opportunity putting people on the spot. And I'm going to start at the bottom and move up. So Patrick, what did you jot down? And if you can't talk and you unmute yourself, but if you want to type it in, you can do that. But looks like you unmuted yourself. So Patrick, what'd you write down?
I honestly didn't write down anything because I didn't know what that was.
All right. You cut off on the last part. So it was to jot down 3 action items that you can take this week with the information we just shared. So I can come back to that. Michaela, how about you? This is where we start to realize that people aren't really paying attention to us.
This is the fun part. I know that Michaela has, I was talking to her yesterday. She has a couple of young toddlers running around and she
Okay.
just,
Yeah.
So-
I joke that I know that I'm putting everybody on the spot. Candace, how about you?
we've got Wavella who mentioned, I guess that's info clients that West Ashley agents are closing more contracts during the year.
Yeah,
great.
that's a good start. Yeah, so
That's a good
share
start.
that, and then go into Vince Lavelle. Thank you for sharing that. And to go into Vince's point on that is what I would do is qualify that a little bit more. How many clients are you going to reach out to, or how many people are you going to reach out to, and how? You know, are you going to send that via email? Are you going to do a Facebook campaign? Whatever it is you're going to do is fine. Just make sure that you've got a plan for that. All right, Dominic, how about you? You got one?
Use it to go do some door knocking as information. You know, the people in probably in the neighborhood that we can close your house faster, better than anybody else.
Love that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that specific on the door knocking side of things. That's a good one. Nancy, how about you? You're muted if you're trying to chat. All right, I'm gonna keep flying through. Kimberly, how about you?
Oh yeah, Kimberly already, she put one in, she's on Ronnie's team. I'm not an agent. I can create a smart plan to provide tasks and scripts for my agents to vigorously follow up with our leads. Now that is awesome.
That's awesome. That is 100%. We didn't even set her up for this, and she just gave the perfect answer, which everyone could do. What she's basically said is, I'm going to do what everybody is, and I'm going to systematize it, which means I can do it again, and then I can do it again. Right? That's awesome. No worries, Nancy. You can type yours in there. Megan, how about you?
I would say I'm going to be kind of focusing on that 177%. I think that's an important thing for people to realize, how much more we're closing than maybe some others. And I kind of have some questions I'll have to get up with y'all with about some for sale by owner stuff. I just think there's a lot to kind of capitalize in there about what they think they may be capable of on their own, but how much more an agent could really help them.
So first of all, what you just said, spot on. And I love that you're thinking that way, is how can I be specific on my target? Right.
Yeah.
And then how does this relate to them?
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. Celeste.
Hi. So I am going to just continue doing the database. I've been doing that.
Awesome.
And, maybe just include this information, or maybe like a Canva graphic or something that I make. I've been really focused on social media, and have been coming up with like a thing for the PGA tour that's going to be here next week, and like 5 miles away from my house. So I'm also not leaving my house unless someone wants to go to the house on July, and then there I am. And kind of doing like a guide around town with that, to hopefully maybe get some folks to see me and my info. And then I have a couple of social meetings scheduled with my sphere, and I like to just not be super salesy, but to like kind of drop in, like, oh, wow, I'm so happy I went to Keller Williams. Like, this is, why they're leaders in the industry, and kind of just drop some just things there.
Awesome. I dropped the link into the chat box, and it's a link to all of these graphics that we went through. There's a couple more on there too. In full transparency, we didn't, there's a couple listings taken, we were down, right? So we've got some areas of opportunity as well, but it's good to focus on this. Camille, how about you?
Mine is to make sure I deliver what a good positive market that we're in right now. There's nothing bad by knowing the numbers of homes that went under contract each and every week. That alone shows you, that we're selling more homes now than ever. With Doug's numbers, the ones that are going under contract. When I send out my solicitation for trying to get more listings, that's what I do is I tell them how many homes go under contract and how many months of inventory in each little area of the MLS that you know, how fast they're selling. So just keep everything positive. And what I don't do is look at the info daily on the market monitor. So I'm definitely going to make sure that I include that in my lead generation.
Yeah, and that's a good one. And just real quickly on that, the market monitor is updated monthly, so it won't change daily, but it's still good to look at it. I look at it daily just as a reminder because I can't remember it. So that's good. All right, Andrew, last but not least.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
I wrote down build relationships.
Okay.
5 to make it smart for Vince.
Sure.
Study market stats so I can be up to date, and you know, because I'm newbie. And add contacts to database, and I wrote 10.
Awesome. Love it. And on that, to go back to what you said, first of all, we've recorded this. We're going to post it. We'll post it here this afternoon so you can go back and look at it. And it's not important to know all of them, and it's not important to memorize all of them, right? That's like, you know, you should know them so you don't always have to look them up. But like Camille said, I mean, go look at it each day, be familiar with it, be able to talk about it to build that validity, but don't overdo it is kind of my point on that from that standpoint. Well, that's awesome. So we've got all these, we're going to jot these down. So next week we'll be able to follow up with everyone on what they did. Nancy,
we put all these, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Say Nancy, see Patrick's talking about, so he just received, you know, Patrick's brand spanking new, which by the way, I definitely should qualify that. I did definitely put a brand spanking new person on the spot. He just got his logins. And as a quick side note, jumped in on Red Day yesterday and was a rock star. So we're glad to have you, glad to be in business with you. So he's gonna be working on building his database, keeping in contact with them on a regular basis was what we'll get him set up on. And these are some of the things you can start to share right away. And then Nancy said, talking about the part, she posted about the number of homes sold and that are available, how many homes we have under agreement. So she's got 2 that she's going to post about. So, all right, Vince, what were you going to say?
I was just going to mention that the reason we share all this information, we know it's a lot. Pick and choose. It's all about having resources in your data, in your toolbox, right? So if I was to want to cut that tree down right there, and I took my putter that I always walk around with, and I try to chop that tree down, is it going to work?
No.
Probably not. No, absolutely not. Right? I need to have the right tool. Yet I have to make sure that I have the tool in my toolbox so that I can go and chop that tree down. So all of these resources are about putting them into my toolbox and then through questions, identifying what tool I should be using. Right? So again, if the conversation is for a buyer and it's about how to, and it's about how to deal with multiple offers, right, in this particular market, then I'm going to probably use the statistic to back up my case around contracts accepted. If it's about money and getting the most bang for their buck, I'm probably going to not touch that one about contracts accepted. And I'll probably go to closed sales volume being up more than the market, right? So that they can get paid more. So it's about using the right tool as well. We have to first identify what the tools are so that we can know when to use them and where to use them. So I hope that makes sense. And I hope this was helpful.
100% agree with that. Pick one. I know all of these stats, and we can talk about all these stats in detail. When I was really, really going out there and actively, particularly when I was going after FSBOs, my one was the list price to sale price, right? Because I knew my list price to sale price versus the markets. And my script was, I mean, that's the only thing I knew. If they'd asked me any other script, I'd have to look it up. But I could say, Vince, here's the other good news. What I know is the market list price to sales price is about 96%. Our teams is 98.2. And in your price point, I know that means that's actually going to be about 2 mortgage payments that you'll save just in equity alone, right? Or about X amount that you'll save in a loan. And I also would do the same thing with mortgage payments on days on the market. So
that's awesome. And Megan, to go back toward that FSBO conversation, right? We have to go back to what's the value of a real estate agent. Cost is only an issue in the absence of value. And we have to understand their motivation. So some FSBOs are going to be motivated by the fact they don't want to pay that agent. And some don't want to pay the agent because they don't really care whether the house sells or not, right? It's either time or money.
Yeah.
Always time or money. So if it's about money, it's about what's our value? Well, our value was in those statistics, and it's also in our ability to negotiate. Some would argue right now that the market is so crazy that a real estate agent isn't really needed, right? Because marketing, you're going to market my house, right? Well, I don't need, there's no inventory. That's what everybody's been saying. So I don't need you to market it. Well, okay, great. How are you going to know what to say when the agent's going, when you're having a conversation with the agent? It's in the negotiation piece too, right? Negotiating and getting top dollar for your house is also important. And we can definitely have a class on that. Maybe we can set up somebody that really goes after FSBOs right now in this particular market. Maybe have them teach, Joseph.
Yeah.
Jai, could you write that down if you don't mind? I think you're taking, I assume you're probably taking notes or something.
Yeah.
But write that down and we'll get that as an action item for me and Joseph to get a FSBO class on the calendar.
Yep. And I just reposted the link. Sorry, that one that I shared was to the one stat. I just reposted it to the folder. Tech savvy. All right. So guys, thank you so much. Lynn is listening in. She is out. She is running up to Paulie's and doing working on some family stuff right now. So we missed you, Lynn. If you're listening to us, we'll see you back next week. Didn't want anybody to think that she went anywhere, and don't panic. It's not only going to be Vince and I moving forward. Lynn will be back.
I know it was horrible.
All right,
it's
everybody.
like a comedy routine.
So Joseph.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to track our numbers of contacts for next week.
Yep. So we'll send out the Google form again next Friday. There's a link to it on the Facebook page right now. But basically, that's going to be we're tracking 4 things on there, which is going to be hours lead generated, contacts made, appointments set, and appointments gone on. Next week's contest is going to be focused on contacts made, and that's a 2-way conversation about real estate. I don't listen. Everybody's like, does a text back and forth work? I don't care. Just make contacts, right? If it's an email back and forth, it does. It's not 300 emails sent out to the group, right? But it's a live conversation. A text conversation is fine. Just contacts.
The reason that we're talking about this too is can we control whether somebody meets with us?
No.
No, the answer is no. Correct. We cannot control whether somebody holds an appointment with us. Can we control the amount of hours we lead generate?
Absolutely.
Can we control the amount of calls we make to make a contact?
Yes.
So that's where we focus. We focus on the things we can control. We cannot control whether they're going to meet with us or not. And we can't control whether they're going to actually pick up the phone, but we can control the hours that we spend looking to help people buy, sell, or invest in real estate, and the amount of people we reach out to. So if we focus on those 2 things, I promise you will find people that are willing to work and that are looking for the opportunity to work with you.
This was good.
Awesome. Great, guys.
All
Thank
right,
you
team.
so much. Have a great weekend.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah.